Hi, I'm Chef Raphael. Welcome to today's video. Today I'm outdoors, different set. I'm actually at my home, but we are grilling. I recently bought this machine and I'm excited about it because now I have so many things that I can show you on grilling. And I hope on this video, I'm going to show you how to make a burger. Now, I'll actually show you from the minced meat, how to make your own burger patty and all that, and how to assemble the bread. And then the meat of this burger, it's nice and juicy, and then the cheese is on the inside. So it's a cheeseburger, but the cheese is on the inside. Watch till the end and you see how simple it is to make it. Let's get cooking. Now, the ingredients for the burger is mincemeat. Now, this is about half a kilo of mincemeat. We have salt, pepper, finely chopped onion, chopped rosemary, and cheese. Now, the cheese, like I said in the intro, is that the cheese is actually inside, so it's gonna melt. But that's one option. You can also do, like what I have is the sliced cheese. You can actually still place it on top of the burger, but I just wanted to show you the stuffed one. So the first thing you need to do is to season the mincemeat. Now, the amount of salt, to be honest, is dependent on the amount of meat you have, but I'll explain how you can tell. But so salt, pepper. There's a trick that I use to know how much salt and pepper I have. So I usually love black pepper, so I usually add slightly more. Now, the chopped onion, you want it finely chopped so that when you're molding the burger, the chopped onion will not make the burger meat fall apart. So that's about 1.5 medium-sized onion. And then rosemary is optional, but I love the flavor of rosemary, so I like adding it. But you can also use coriander or even parsley if you don't want any flavor, but you want the green specks inside the meat. So for the onion, the whole point is the onion should not be more than the meat. You can choose to fry the onion slightly, but personally I prefer having it raw. I'll add slightly more rosemary. You can also add chopped ginger or garlic paste or ginger paste. Fresh one as opposed to the powdered one. Personally, I prefer the fresh one as opposed to the powdered one. And that's it. Now, the trick of knowing if this mincemeat has enough seasoning is just take a small piece like that. To take a small piece like this one and then flatten it and then cook it on a pan and then taste it. Now, if the salt is enough, then it's enough. If it's not, you can always add slightly more of whatever that you need, if it's salt or pepper, or in this case rosemary. But that's the best way you can tell if the mincemeat is enough. So that's it. Now let's mold the burger. So what you need is to take a handful like that, mold it into a ball like that. So the onion is not too much. You can see the specks of green from the rosemary. So the trick is, now when you want to stuff it, after molding it into a ball, make a hole using your thumb like that, and then take your cheese. Now you can use grated cheese. For me here, I'm using sliced cheese. You can even use the whole amount of cheese, one slice. but grated cheese would also work well. You also don't want too much of the cheese, you don't want it to be too much, so the amount of cheese is dependent on the amount of meat that you have. I'm approximating that one would be enough. So cover it like that, and then I'm shaping it into a flat piece. Now, another trick, just make sure when you're doing this, the meat is not falling apart. So how you flatten it, you can either use a flat plate like that, place it on the plate or even on a chopping board, and then squeeze it. Now the cheese is on the inside. Now the size of the round should not be too big. You should also factor in the size of your bread. Also you need to factor in the fact that the meat will shrink slightly now depending on the mince meat that you have. So there you have it. That's your beef patty. It's thick, but I think it's good. Don't worry about this, but so long as the meat is compact, now this should be okay. And all you need to do now is to make the rest of the meat that you have into the same size and shape. So now they are ready. For this recipe, I have about 3 big ones and a smaller one for the half a kilo of meat. Now the trick in this, if you want to cook them right now, you can actually cook them immediately, or you can also put them in the fridge. If you have a lot, and let's say you don't have a flat plate like this, you need them to put them in a container. The most important thing you need to note is put either an aluminum foil or a cling film on this layer, on this meat, and then put one on top of the other, or even 3. But make sure, the trick is just make sure you have something to prevent them from sticking together, and that's either foil paper or a cling film or even a grease-proof paper or a baking paper to prevent them from sticking. So right now we're going to cook them immediately, but again you have the option of preserving them in the fridge or even in the freezer for later cooking. But if you have cheese in one, I would say don't put it in the freezer, just put it in the fridge. So let's get cooking. So before you start cooking, the most important thing, especially if you have, this is a gas grill, make sure it's clean, and then turn it on so that you actually want it to be hot. Now, the good thing about a gas oven, it can be instant. In this case, this has 5 burners, I only need 3. So I only turn on the 3 that I need. Another good thing about this burner is that you can actually cover it. So the heat, because it has a gauge here, you can actually tell how hot it is on the inside. So we'll wait for it to get hot, and then we'll place the burgers. So this is hot. You can actually feel by your palm. This applies again to even when you're using a charcoal grill, you need to feel it. Again, it's an added advantage if yours has a temperature gauge, but even if it's a charcoal one, the most important thing you need to do is feel with your hand. And now it's hot. Now a little bit of oil. I'll just put a small amount of oil. Actually, I can even spread it with my fingers. The whole point of the oil is to make it not stick. Although my grill it's cast iron, so it will not stick easily, but it's always a good idea to have a little bit of oil, and then the oil side down. So here I have 3 burgers that I made, and one does not have cheese. I actually made it intentionally so that you'll actually be able to see the difference. Like that. And I also have some bacon. So bacon, I'll cook it a little bit later. So the most important thing whenever you're doing a burger is make sure that the grill or the surface is hot, like I know it is. Place it on the grill when it's hot, and you'll actually get the grill marks because of that. And when you place it, it's also a good idea, if it can move, but let it just keep cooking on that side. Heat will come from the bottom coming up, so until it's halfway done, because on the side you can actually see as it's cooking. And then on the top, what will happen on the top of the meat, you'll start seeing some liquid coming out, some red liquid coming out on top. That's when you know it's time to flip it. You need to leave it as it is and let it do its thing. I'll leave it for about 2 minutes on that one side. So after about 2 minutes, what is actually happening is that liquid is actually coming on top. That's when you know that the burger is cooking from the down up. That's a good sign. Now, when it comes to flipping it, now the first thing you need to do is free it. Now you actually go under and then flip it. There are grill marks on the burger. That's good. Again, you go under and then flip it. Now the cheese is already oozing out. This is awesome. The cheese is already oozing out. I'm not sure which one is which, but remember one I said did not have cheese, but it's nice and juicy. Sticky bacon, just place it on the grill, just like that. Remember, it has to be hot. If you're using a flat pan, that can also work. And then I'm going to cover it so that you have the oven heat coming through, so that the burger cooks from the inside. So because the cheese is actually melting, that means the internal temperature is hot. I don't want it to get finished in the grill. So what I'm going to do is actually place it on top here, away from the direct heat. So this is the dry one without the cheese. So whenever you have a grill like this, you can actually reduce the fire and let it continue cooking in its own internal heat of the oven, away from the direct heat. I can actually turn off some of the gas burners, and then even completely, to be honest, if you're not going to cook anything else, turn it off and let it continue cooking with the internal heat. And while this is happening, I'm going to make the bread that will go with the burger. So let's do the bread. On medium heat. Again, make sure that when you're cutting it, it's exactly halfway. What I want to do now is to just slightly toast the bread. What it does also, it warms the bread, becomes more soft. And because I'm using the same grill that I used when I was cooking the meat, it's actually going to be good because you get the flavor from the grill to the bread. Mind you, all this that we are doing, we can actually do it with a flat pan if you don't have a grill. So for these purposes, I'm actually using a grill, but you can actually use normal flat pan or a grill pan. So that's what we want, slightly toasted. So the first thing you want to do is if you have the whole setup. What I have here is shredded lettuce, tomatoes that is sliced, and when you're slicing them, try and make them the same size. Onion, the same thing. Slice them and remove them like this. Meat is ready, bacon is ready. So the first thing you want to do is apply mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, whatever you like. So what I usually like doing is just, you can also use aioli. Aioli is basically mayonnaise with garlic. I'll actually do a video some other time on how to make that. And then bread is nice and crispy and toasted. Start with lettuce. Onion, like that. Now the onion, you can also fry it slightly if you prefer it cooked. Take the meat. You can see the cheese oozing out. And then the bacon. What I like doing with bacon is trying to put smaller pieces so that they actually fit on top of the meat. And then finally the top. And there you have it. It's stuffed, it's big, and it's juicy. So what is left is to just dig in. So that's how simple it is to make it. One thing I forgot to mention, and it's actually good that I have this here as I end, is that the meat and the bread size, they are almost the same size. The meat has not shrunk, or the meat is not too big than the bread. So that matters when you're molding the meat. Another thing that matters is the type of minced meat that you use. Now the ratio of fat to meat, personally I don't prefer the lean minced meat. I prefer the one with some fat, but you can either buy from your butcher, wherever you buy yours, and then just make sure you don't get the lean one, because you also need some fat because it has flavor. And when serving it, you can either serve it like this, and when you cut on the inside, you can see how it has the cheese, the layers of the tomato and the bread and all that. And yeah, it's delicious, and I hope you're going to enjoy yours. Make sure also when you're cooking it, don't overcook it, because when it's too dry, you not enjoy it. You want it nice and juicy. So I'm signing out, your host, Chef Raphael. This is my very first from my series of videos that I want to be doing when I'm grilling. So I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, let's get cooking. Goodbye.